Dire team ban.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to the joinDOTA League Season 7. We have another 2-game set coming your way. This time, it's going to be the Disciples of Eternal Envy versus LemonDogs. So it should be a pretty interesting matchup. EE's Disciples have been, performing decently as of late. I haven't myself casted them, and LemonDogs are, for the most part, LemonDogs, as everyone knows them. So should expect some pretty good quality Dota. Not super aggressive, a little more common LemonDog side, but that, of course, doesn't mean it's not going to be good. I'm Mikelorus, going to be joined by GrandisV for this 2-game set. And, well, man, EE's Disciples just got out of a 1-1 match. So, it's maybe going to shake up their playstyle a little bit. They were the vast favorites in that game.
Yeah, definitely. So the team they were just playing up against, Scenario, I've never actually seen them play. They're from Iran. So, yeah, a very interesting match that I don't think we have a lot of information about, but yeah, I don't think that's going to phase them at all. Eternal Envy's Disciples have been looking very good in the joinDOTA League, as you kind of already mentioned, and are favorites going into this series as well, and I don't think that's going to change. Now I'm thinking of Bounty Hunter first pick, a really powerful hero under their belt, considering the bans of Queen of Pain, Latrek, Gyro, and Earthshaker.
Lots of powerful heroes being kicked out. Tusk, notably, still in the pool, so I would expect LemonDogs to take care of that hero in some way, shape, or form. And well, for Eternal Envy's Disciples, grabbing an aggressively slanted secondary hero, whether that is, a support like a Spirit Break or something like that, someone who could really start going around actively, getting those track kills, or helping out to accelerate the Bounty Hunter at least. It should be the game plan for them. It is worth noting that for EED's last match, they got screwed over by a Huskar pick. So if LemonDogs were watching, maybe they know to keep their eyes open for that. It's the type of hero that if you're not already prepared for him, he can just completely screw you over.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in the second game, from what I was watching, it was pretty close. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this draft progresses. It's going to be Winter Wyvern for LemonDogs, a pretty comfortable hero for them, and it works well with their playstyle. One of the best late game supports.
Yeah, LemonDogs, they do sometimes like to aggressively slant their draft, but from what I've seen of them, they will be more than okay with, taking it slow, taking it steady, and getting the slow farm game going, and that's perfectly fine as well. It's going to be a little bit harder to do that when the enemy side is a bounty hunter. You have to really be careful about your positioning. If you get picked off a couple too many times, then though you may have the late game draft, you will be up against a lot of extra gold on the other side. And LemonDogs, they're going to grab the Lina as their secondary pick. No surprises here, really. This hero has really had a meteoric rise, even after she's been picked first. She's been like that for a couple months now. I still feel like she's on the rise. I still feel like Lina's one of the best heroes to pick up right now for that mid lane. If it's not Leshrac, it's got to be Lina.
Yeah, absolutely. Eternal Envy's Disciple is going to pick up a Dazzle. As a supporting duo, Bounty Hunter Dazzle does tend to be a little bit awkward when it comes to getting kills. You rely on having heroes like the Lina or like a Gyrocopter that can very easily get kills by themselves with just a little bit of extra setup, but in and of themselves, they don't have that much when it comes to damage early or CC. So, yeah, it looks like Eternal Envy's Disciples are also going to play things a little bit slower until they get track online.
Yeah, EED have an aggressive support with the Bounty Hunter, defensive support in the Dazzle, and typically that's not really what you want to be doing. They can make it work if perhaps they grab a Tusk and then they are somehow able to combo up the Dazzle's Shallow Wave and turn that defensive support into an aggressive hero. Alternatively, going someone like a Shadow Demon can also get that accomplished, but then that's you're going to be picking up Shadow Demon into a Lina, and things can get pretty messy from there on out. Although Shadow Demon versus Wyvern is a pretty good counter. It's a possibility for the Disciples, but I don't know. They're going to have to work pretty hard to make this Dazzle really shine as an offensive hero, and that's kind of what you want. Obviously, Bounty Hunter really does want to be aggressive once you get to level 6, so you do have a little bit of leeway where Dazzle can afford to not be the most aggressive hero.
Absolutely. Well, as far as the next couple bans are concerned, LemonDogs have a ban and then straight into a pick for them. Something like a Darkseer could be amazing for them. Since it hasn't been banned out yet, combos really well with the Lina and the Winter Wyvern. And since they have a support Bounty Hunter on the enemy's side, the lane pressure that Darkseer is going to receive is very little to none. So I think that's a pretty secure pick for LemonDogs to snag for themselves. But as far as the ban is concerned, it's just up to whatever they feel is, I don't know, scariest coming out from EED. There really isn't anything telling about the Bounty Hunter Dazzle picks when it comes to what cores they want. They'll ban out the Brood, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, it's reasonable. Even if you do have a little bit of AoE, Broodmother, much like the Huskar, is a hero that can just get in the game, and then you realize you have no answers to the hero, and then you just get completely steamrolled. not a fun place to be. So I like the safety pick from LemonDogs. Something else that they can do is grab a Spirit Breaker and go on the slightly more aggressive towards that Bounty Hunter. If you look at EED's bans, they've taken out the Clockwork and the Storm Spirit, two heroes that are very highly prized for their ability to initiate. And there's that third hero in that Spirit Breaker, and he's a great hero versus the Bounty Hunter. If you have level 6, you're going to want to track up everyone, and Spirit Breaker is going to be waiting for you to pull that trigger. You do get a little bit of vision once Bounty Hunter actually casts track, and if you're fast with your fingers, you could charge him and pretty easily bring him down. So seems like that would be a pretty reasonable pick for LemonDogs, seeing as though all their other initiators pretty much in the game, or the big ones in the game, are out of the pool.
Yeah, Spirit Breaker or Darkseer feel like reasonable picks here, but outside of them, let's see, what else could it be? LemonDogs, I think, will probably err on picking their offlaner just to make sure that they can keep their options open and maybe move the Lina towards the support later down the line. But if it's going to be another support, Undying, ooh, alrighty then. So maybe not so passive for LemonDogs, a very aggressive pick.
Yeah, it's a little bit more aggressive than the Spirit Breaker. It still doesn't exactly solve the lack of initiation issue that LemonDogs may run into a little bit down the line, but they're going to be brawling Undying as the hero to brawl with, and you can still actually grab a Spirit Breaker here. We've seen Spirit Breaker Undying lanes work pretty well in the past. It is potentially going to be pretty difficult now going up against a Tusk and a Dazzle, both of whom have skills that say, nope, we're literally not going to die right now with a Snowball and Shallow Grave, and that's sometimes going to be problematic for Undying. Alternatively, other times you're just going to swarm them with zombies, so they're stuck in their Snowball, they're sitting there unable to die in their grave, and then the grave pops off, and then they get mauled by zombies. And you get the kill anyway, and it's a pretty good offensive duel lane if LemonDogs really want to go down that route.
Yeah, and right now, Eternal Envy's Disciples don't have the traditional Undying counters at their disposal, although they'll probably look for a good amount of ranged physical damage to bring down the Tombstone in the late game. You don't have anything as good as like a Gyrocopter, and I don't feel that Eternal Envy's Disciples really have room for something like a Naga Siren to put inside their lineup.
That'll be the third melee hero, and you do have some minor minus armor synergies. With the Dazzle, it's really a tough sell. Like, how is she supposed to fit in? It'll have to be like it'll have to be a core Naga Siren, which isn't bad. I think that's definitely something that teams can still do, but it's not really what you want to be doing up against the aggressively slanted draft for LemonDogs. Now grabbing the Dragon Knight, a little bit more of a slower and steadier hero, but when you do have an Undying and a Dragon Knight, things can get really messy for the Eternal Envy's Disciples side. Their towers are going to be pushed, and it's going to be actually pretty hard for them to defend. They're going to have to get on top of the Lina and Winter Wyvern and try to take down the tanky, nigh unkillable heroes of the Undying Dragon Knight afterwards.
It's going to be very difficult for Eternal Envy's Disciples to get a read on where these lanes are going to shake down as well. Pretty much the only thing that we can say with even a reasonable amount of certainty is that Dragon Knight's going mid. All of the other heroes could shake up pretty much anywhere that they want to, and maybe even see some heavy roaming coming out from the supports. But regardless, I think LemonDogs are going to hit a very scary timing window once Dragon Knight gets his levels after he takes down the tier 1 tower in mid, which right now is pretty reliable. I don't see very many mid laners in the pool that are going to be able to stop that convincingly, and then they just start balling up with the Undying. LemonDogs might even pick up just another safe lane farm here, like a Razor, like a Viper, and I'm not sure if Eternal Envy's Disciples will really be able to get online with the bounty, especially before that Death Ball comes into play.
Yeah, I'm really liking that strategy, because when you go for that type of strategy, an item that you pick up is mech, like either Razor or Viper, both of whom would... maybe a little bit more so Viper than Razor, but either way, both those heroes typically do grab that mechanism. Otherwise, look at LemonDogs' lineup right now. Undying, maybe if you get a decent amount of farm, you'll be going for that, but otherwise, grabbing a mech and then having the Undying's heal, plus the mechanism heal, plus the Dragonite as that just slow and steady siege engine is going to be really hard for Eternal Envy's Disciple to dislodge. And the scary thing is that timing comes really quickly also. It's not like a 20-minute timing where they get like Radiance BKB and suddenly they're really threatening. No, it's as soon as they get level 6 on the Dragonite, they can do that. They're probably going to wait a little bit longer, 10, 11 minutes, wait for Dragonite to get level 9 or something like that, but Eternal Envy's Disciples won't really have a great amount of time to dislodge this before it really comes to play, unless they get off to a super aggressive start. But that super aggressive start is, again, going to be a little bit difficult to come by with the Bounty Hunter and Dazzle. Shadow Fiend is the hero that they want, though. It's a hero that can fight early on. Those raises represent the vast majority of their early game damage.
And it also is a natural mech carrier for Eternal Envy's Disciples. It does well in lane, although doesn't do amazingly against the Lina, it's probably going to be a DK matchup. So Shadowfiend will be very happy. Will just be able to get his farm through. And despite LemonDogs having that very scary timing window, their supports especially aren't the greatest at roaming and ganking the SF before Dragon Knight gets his level 6, so you have that range stun to set up for Light Strike arrays. Before then, Shadowfiend just has to make sure he doesn't get too aggressive, and he should be fine in general. So I think, yeah, it's the pick that Eternal Envy's Disciple is needed, but the biggest question is whether or not they'll be able to be prepared on the other three, and whatever this safe lane farmer is for them before they end this game. Yeah, Slaughter is going to be the ban coming out from LemonDogs, so minus armor strategy with Dazzle, Shadowfiend at its core, plus a Slaughter on top of that could have been very terrifying, so I think that's a reasonable ban, although I don't think the pick for Eternal Envy's Disciples will fill that same role.
Yeah, maybe just like a Clinks or something for Eternal Envy, or for, I guess, his Disciples. They need a safe laner. They don't really need him to be super self-sufficient, but they do need a hero that's going to be online a little bit sooner than otherwise. Alternatively, Luna Ember Spirit also looking decent, but it's a Wraith King for the LemonDog side. No, I'm not really too sure how much I like this. I mean, there's no mana burn or anything like that on the Eternal Envy's Disciples, so that's fine for the Wraith King, but now this game seems like the perfectly mediocre game for Wraith King, and it's actually going to be Razor on the EED side.
Yeah, the thing for me in this game for Wraith King is, would it have been better if he was a Sven instead? Right now, the benefit of having the Wraith King inside lane is it's a setup stun right into a Light Strike array. It can very easily get you kills inside the laning stage, even if it's just those two, and they decide Undying and Winter Wyvern are better suited to just go top lane together, or Winter Wyvern sits mid. But that said, I think the extra armor from a Sven's Warcry could be very relevant in this game, and he scales a little bit harder. Both of those heroes would still run the issue that there's a lot of kiting tools on Eternal Envy's Disciples side. Razor now added to the mix is going to be a general nuisance. I don't see a way that LemonDogs are going to be able to convincingly stop Razor from getting off a good static link inside these fights, and I think this last pick kind of leaves a sour taste for LemonDogs draft, and it's going to make it a lot more even than I would have thought.
Man, if you switch these two right now, I'd be so on board with both teams' draft. Sure. Just, I don't know, could we, like, dash swap 5 in this game? It's probably not going to work if you type that in, but that would have been really good. Like, put the Razor on LemonDogs, get them the Mech Carrier, get a Wraith King on EED, which is still not going to be fantastic necessarily. Usually Wraith King is what you want when the enemy team goes for a whole bunch of one-off skills like Laguna Blades, Black Holes, Ravages. You want Wraith King to be the survivor after all is said and done, then he can go wild, but that's not really the case in this game. It's a really bad matchup versus the Razor especially, but either way, what's done is done. It's going to be Krilly who's going to be playing that Wraith King. Might be going by himself. Frigolite is playing the Lina with Steph Style on the Winter Wyvern. Got Eris Loco playing the Undying. That leaves E-Skill on the Dragon Knight.
And on the flip side of the coin, EED going to be on the dire side map with Maui playing his offlane Tusk. Bounty Hunter will be handled by Teddy, mid lane Shadowfiend by TOP or top, and safe lane in the top lane. We're going to have PQMZ on the Dazzle and safe lane farming Razor by McGraw.
Alright, so we have Undying already positioned up on this top lane. Boots first on him. Frigolite has no boots, nor does Steph Style, so it looks like it is going to be a Wyvern Lina support duo. You can certainly be a little bit more aggressive as far as your support duos are concerned, but Winter Wyvern and Lina can definitely get the job done as well. Just a little bit of slow from the Arctic Burn, getting close enough for a Light Strike array. Hell, even just Arctic Burn with the Undying Zombies and or Decay Beatdown is something that's pretty dangerous on this top lane, especially if EED's supporting casts, such as the Bounty Hunter, are going to be heavily on the roam, and well, that's what you would expect from that hero.
Yeah, and he does have the Orb of Venom to help him out there. Bounty Rune split going to be 50-50, one for each mid laner apiece. Shadowfiend, this game going to feel comfortable enough to go for the stats opener, get Necromastery 1. I think that's fine. Dragon Knight, as far as mid laners that can contest this Shadowfiend and try to deny his farm, it's pretty bad for the Dragon Knight. Very low damage. Compared to the SF, he only has 2 more, and as soon as Shadowfiend gets 1 soul, that's completely mitigated. And so I think this mid lane should be more or less a wash. It depends on whether Teddy gets this Courier Snipe or not, but the Courier's not flying out to the Dragon Knight yet. He hasn't gotten his gold for the bottle, but here comes. If they don't anticipate this Bounty Hunter rotation, which is something that has phased out very heavily since it's very risky to go through, but looks like that's not going to be the option. They'll keep the Courier at the tier 3, and Dragon Knight should just back off to make sure that he gets that.
Yeah, it's he doesn't exactly need the bottle just yet. Like, he's just doing fine with his health and mana pool. So the longer he keeps the Courier from going out, the longer Teddy can just sit here and waste his time. And E-Skill is perfectly happy with that. Like, he's just managing the lane as per normal. The Bounty Hunter is doing absolutely nothing in the meantime. Seems like a pretty good trade there. Most teams at this point are a little bit more privy to the fact that Bounty Hunters will be looking for that Courier Snipe, especially looking for that early bottle. Since Dragon Knight has gone for such a light item build, the Bounty Hunter knows that the bottle is going to be coming out soon. But yeah, maybe when Bounty Hunter was one of those more fringe pick heroes, this would work out, and it did work out a lot back then, but not as much so anymore. So I expect Bounty Hunter to not get this. In the meantime, bottom lane, Frigolite and Krilly going to be going up against Maui's Tusk. Tusk is going to be doing just fine. Does have to worry sometimes about getting hit by a Wraithfire Blast, taking some damage and whatnot, but other than that, yeah, it's not really going to be like LemonDogs will be able to always keep this Tusk out of experience range.
Courier will successfully deliver the bottle in mid. Bounty Hunter not going to be able to get the snipe on the outgoing trip or on the ingoing trip. So Bounty Hunter has wasted, effectively, the first 2 minutes of the game. Denial of the rune going to come out from the Lina, so that's going to be pretty slick play there. But still, yeah, Tusk is under fairly little risk of dying in this lane. Wraithfire Blast is pretty easily disjointable by the Snowball.
Yeah, as long as you see it coming, as long as it's not from a weird Fog of War angle, you should be just fine. And then, of course, we have our top lane where we have Razor and Dazzle, which is a pretty interesting lane. In fact, I can't really remember the last time I saw a lane like this, but down towards bottom, actually, they're going to go for Maui. That Wraithfire Blast was held with an LSA Dragon Slave. They'll draw the kill on the Tusk. Looks like Tusk went aggressive on Frigolite and just fell short, and, well, that's what happens when you try to go aggressive in the off lane. Heavy risk, but, yeah, sometimes it's just not going to work out for you. If you do get it, though, if you do get it, you feel really good about yourself. Up towards top, the Dazzle and Razor lane is actually really hard to deal with. Like, you have to disengage from the Razor before he drains all your damage. You can't try to race him because Dazzle's right there, and then McGraw's going to be hitting for like 1,000,000 damage a pop. It's a really difficult
Really
lane,
down in
especially
bottom.
for two heroes.
Ooh, Teddy's going to open up into the Wraith King, but there's no follow-up from the Tusk immediately, so they're not going to go for it, especially since they didn't know where the Lina was for sure. She was spotted walking back towards the base, but eventually turns around, so nothing's going to happen. Things are really, really static outside of that first blood. And it'll probably stay that way. When you go for dual lanes, it tends to end up happening where everybody just tries to play aggressively inside their own spots of the map.
So Teddy found Frigolite, hit him twice, has Orb of Venom applied, so Boots of Speed, though up on the Lina, won't be doing so much. And Tusk just made his move down. Like, he was, yeah, he was shuffling back and forth, but now he's actually heading towards Frigolite. So I expect there to be a Snowball Shards coming into this Lina. And that isn't going to be enough damage to instantly kill her off. But unless, oh, Krilly actually doesn't have any mana. He's going to have to eat his mango, I think. Frigolite's in trouble.
Yeah, and even if he does eat his mango, there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to save the Lina's life. They kind of need a Light Strike array to connect as the Snowball connects onto Frigolite, and that's really difficult to pull off convincingly. So yeah, this is just an awkward angle. Right now, the Ice Shards could be perfect and just keep her in place 100%. She does have boots, so maybe she can avoid that situation, but yeah. The reason why we're paused is Stepstyle has disconnected. It looks like he's under no immediate peril. Worst case scenario, the Arctic burn him down to the low ground. So nothing's going to happen in top lane. In mid lane is pretty much as to be expected. Shadow Fiend's starting to pick up a little bit more last hitting momentum than the Dragon Knight, but he also can't deny everything whenever you have the Breathe Fire, especially with a double damage rune in Dragon Knight's bottle.
Yeah, so DK, he is almost at that level 6 mark, and we said that it gets, actually possible to get the kill with the DK once you get that level 6, just for the range stun. We haven't really seen any hints that LemonDog supports are going to be moving over towards that mid lane, and it's very hard to actually get two dual lanes at the same time to gank a mid lane, since usually it's going to be a smoke gank, but you have to like rejoin the mid lane. It takes so much time to do that, so yeah, it is difficult to actually make that happen, but yeah, DK is surviving the lane, and that's exactly what Dragon Knight does. Doesn't have any stacks to work with just yet. I would expect someone to maybe get to that a little bit down the line, just try to get a little bit of splash damage going for that Dragon Knight, get him some acceleration, but I guess, to be fair, not much is going on in the Dire jungle either, so Shadow Fiend, what you see is pretty much what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Another benefit of Shadow Fiend, the mid lane against Dragon Knight, is it's really hard for DK to actually take the tower. Because as soon as he gets that level 6 online, you have at least 3 points up the raises, and then level 7's not very far afterwards, where you just double raise down every creep wave. And Dragon Knight, unless he gets the kill on the Shadow Fiend with a little bit of help from rotations and from supports, shouldn't be happening. We're still paused, and it's a little bit awkward. I guess we can take a look at the last hit chart a little bit. It is a bit deceptive up in the top lane, especially Dazzle's last hits. This isn't actually an 11-3 Dazzle, not a farming Dazzle. Most of those are zombies.
Or Maybe they're all CS and we just missed it all. I wasn't
But just
watching the Dazzle
boosts.
last hit. Who knows? He could be taking all the gold. Although I would expect a little bit more than what he has
Yeah.
right now if that was the case.
No, they're all zombies. Razor's the one with the money.
Uh-huh. That's what he wants you to think. That's what he wants everyone to think. It's all part of the elaborate scheme. Soon Dazzle's gonna straight buy a Desolator, then just go off.
That
But
would
he's
be
actually
awesome.
not in a great spot right now. Arctic Burn is
No.
up. And usually Arctic Burn is not up because the cooldown is just so damn high, but yeah, PQMZ might take a lot of damage here. He's not going to die since McGraw can probably come in time and save him, but this is actually not the best place for Dazzle to be.
And Stepsaw also didn't invest his second skill point, so should they need it, Splinter Blast is available. Yeah, Dazzle should be fine. I think everybody just walks away from top, and bottom's the more interesting spot, but I'll keep an eye on it just to be sure.
Yeah, so I would expect Maui to snowball in first for Frigolite, hold his shards, snowball into him, and then make a wall on the right side of Lena so that Teddy could also right-click. And getting that kill will give Bounty Hunter not quite level 2, but hey, he's only level 1 right now. He really does need some sort of experience gain, and killing off heroes sounds pretty good to me. That's how I want to get my experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Well, we're going to unpause, and let's see how it goes down.
here comes the shards. Frigolite is going to get shoved out. Well, that's not going to work out. He's still going to go for it. Snowball's going to connect, but then Wraith King with the blast, with the LSA. Maui's sitting in tower range. He's going to die. That's not how I expected that to go down. Those shards were not on point.
Yeah, the order of operations that we were expecting was Snowball first and then go for the shards, but I mean, if he can line up those shards properly, it's a great kill for the team, but unfortunately he's not going to have that happen for him. I suppose the good news is it does force out Wraith King's Mango, so maybe he's not going to be able to get an ultimate off later down the line. At least he forces that to be used.
I think it's going to be, LemonDogs are going to be okay with that, though. They
Oh, yeah,
save
of
the
course.
Lena, they get the
Of course.
kill, and, well, the kill probably even shouldn't have happened on that Tusk. Just got a little bit too far away with that Snowball before he actually casted it, and then sitting in tower range, never a fun place for anyone to be 4 minutes in the game. Maybe Ogre Magi, but that's pretty much it. Over towards mid, E-Skill is going to get jumped by Teddy. He's all sitting in tower range. Dragon Tail, Breathe Fire, and Teddy's going to die before E-Skill goes down. In fact, he's going to live at 11 HP. Now the Shadow Fiend taking tower shots. He's not going to die from this one. But that was super bold from Teddy, the
Lena?
level 2 bounty to go for that. And yeah, up towards top lanes, the Tombstone has been deployed, and the zombies are running amok. They're on to PQMZ. There is no more skills on the Winter Wyvern, so it looks like everyone else is going to walk away. But yeah, that should just about be it. I don't know why you try to go for that dive as a level 2 bounty hunter.
Yeah, it's so awkward. It kind of feels like Teddy's not comfortable being in this situation. I suppose that's not without reason. This bounty hunter's tried to make a lot of moves, and they just haven't worked out. And when you're going for this roaming bounty, it does start to stack up in your experience quite heavily. DK surviving now is at level 6. Lag is going to be called out, and, well,
Oh, I thought he was just like, you know, saying it for excuses. But if there's actually lag, then okay, then we should probably pause. Yeah,
well, he
that's-
has made his way all the way
my
up in
bad.
the top lane.
Well, that's not good. Damn you, Volvo.
What server are we playing on?
I
Or are they
think by
playing on
default it's Lux, unless the teams agree both on somewhere else.
Fair enough.
Unless the admin changed it. I wasn't looking.
Everybody's
look.
ping is fine, but yeah, we have no idea about the packet loss situation, so...
Well, good thing for him. It doesn't take much ping to actually handle a level 2 bounty hunter. Gotta just make the right calls. He's gonna poke Eris Loco a couple times, but this isn't a dying we're talking about. You know, tower diving a DK, a bad idea, and trying to 1v1 a level 4 and dying, not exactly that much better. Teddy, as you said, really doesn't seem like he feels comfortable. Maybe even playing this bounty hunter. Like, what are you supposed to do now as a bounty? You can't really stack. There's maybe the Tusk will leave the lane and give Bounty Hunter a free lane to get experience once he grabs level 6, but this Bounty Hunter is really far behind.
I think that should be the plan. Maui's having a good time when it comes to getting experience. Despite dying twice on this Tusk because he played maybe a tad too aggressively, he's still getting his levels up, and that's all you really need in the Tusk to secure some kills for the team. If he can get an Ice Shard's wall off on this DK even, and get double raise from the Shadow Fiend, it's a potential kill. It just depends on how the sports are positioned. Runes will be sat upon. Sentry will be dropped on the top rune. Bounty Hunter activates the illusion and won't get caught out. So that's a successful move coming out from Teddy. But now he is spotted out around the corner. They're going to open up with the Arc of Burn, walking right over the Sentry. If they can get the Light Strike to connect, it's a dead Bounty. And there you go. He's going to be burst down by the Dragon Slave.
And it was so close to being a great move. Just grab the rune, It's illusion also, so LemonDogs know exactly what's going on since random bounty hunters appear. But then he walked right back into it. I guess he figured there's no detection there, and I think that's probably a reasonable assumption, but unfortunately for him, he was wrong. Maui's actually going to go towards the mid lane, not quite level 6, however. E-skill is level 6 on that DK, and he's starting to work away on that poison in that tower. And between the Tusk and the Shadow Fiend, they should be able to hold this, but that means, of course, no one's on this bottom lane. The Bounty Hunter's going to make his way there, but clearly level 7 just needs one hero with detection, and then he could actually kill off this Bounty Hunter. And Lina has a sentry, not sure if that's quite enough, but hey, if someone buys Dust, then they could very easily bring him down.
Looks like Wraith King right now is holding his point. He has 1 in stats, 4 in Fire Blast, and 1 in Mortal Strike. So the Wraith King, even if he dies, could still preserve his ultimate cooldown, which this early on is very significant. Right now he's happy. He's sitting at 43 last hits, and I think that's a Midas, at least a Midas recipe flying out to him now. He'll have that almost as soon as it's delivered, and he'll just walk over to the side shop and pick that up. Wraith King, as far as carries are concerned, kind of needs to get ahead in experience and gold to really be super relevant, and Midas is definitely an avenue to do that.
And he really needs the extra levels of his ultimate. Like, you may think that's, oh, level 1 ultimate, you revive, and it's the same thing for level 2, you bottom line just revive, but the cooldown of level 1 ultimate is 260 seconds. It is freaking forever, guys. So clearly looking to get to that level 11 as soon as possible. Then at that point, he's going to feel more comfortable to just YOLO into a fight, knowing that if he drops, not a big deal. Even if he dies twice, he'll have the ultimate again by the time the next fight breaks out. So clearly he's feeling pretty good about his bottom lane right now, and really that's what happens when you leave any carry to his own devices. He will get ahead, and then he will go for an item that gets him more ahead, whether that's the Shadow Blade, like on a Slark or someone like that, a Hand of Midas on a Wraith King, or an Anti-Mage going for a Battle Fury. The game plan is always pretty much the same.
Up in top lane, the Undying, although he hasn't been as aggressive as the Tusk, is still getting his experience, but right now is maybe in a little bit of trouble. This Tusk is trying to move around, but he's been spotted out by Observer Wards pretty much constantly as he goes for these rotations, so anything the Maui does is probably not going to succeed, and even if they think they have an opening, LemonDogs know about it and can very easily react.
LemonDogs' vision coverage so far has been pretty darn good. If you look at it right now, aside from the sentries to handle the Bounty Hunter, they have eyes on the top rune, the bottom rune, and the top jungle. Really all the places where Eternal Envy's disciples will be most likely to walk through and or try to make a play. Like up towards top, Eris Loco's usually going to be, the hardline heroes to be in the most cautious position, but he's actually able to play slightly more aggressively because he sees everyone who's going to be going in or out of this top lane area. So he's feeling pretty good about himself. Not getting a ton of farm right now, though, but I would expect him to be going for the mech for the team.
Inside the Radiant Woods, the stack will be cleared up by the Dragonite, but LemonDogs tried for an additional stack on that camp before taking it, so they might know that there's a ward blocking it out. It depends on how close the timing is and how well you know your stacks, but they might be privy to the fact that there is a very deep Observe Ward, and that is one of the benefits that Bounty Hunter offers you, even though he hasn't had a great impact yet. You can get very deep vision across the map, and Teddy is getting closer and closer towards that level 6 mark. Considering how slow his start was, this level 6 is going to come down at a very reasonable rate since he got so much XP bottom.
You only need a couple minutes in a free lane, really not with any pressure on you to get to that level 6 mark as any hero. And Bounty Hunter does need that level 6, especially in this game, more so than the most. Hero that we haven't mentioned really lately is that Razor. Been pretty quiet up on this top lane, holding a chainmail. Looks like he's going to be going for a mech on Eternal Envy's Disciples side. Mech will be coming up, ideally for EED, about the same time as the track from the Bounty Hunter. Then when that happens, grouping up, going for dedicated tower pushing, it's possible. They're going to smoke up, instantly it'll be blown by Teddy, and they're going to drop a sentry, but Dragonite ran the other way, and now Teddy is pretty much home free. If you're going to smoke, you got to carry Dust.
It's a pretty interesting decision coming out from EED to go for the mechanism on the Razor. Shadow Fiend, instead of going for the mech himself, is going to pick up a drums. Not an item we see very commonly on Shadow Fiend. If Razor picked up the drums and SF picked up the mech, I wouldn't even bat an eye. But yeah, I guess that's just up to personal preference. I think the Shadow Fiend could probably use the mechanism a little bit more effectively, and Razor might benefit from the movement speed a little bit more, but I think at that point, as long as they have both of those items, EED's fighting power is going to be pretty close to the same.
Yeah, I think the distinction really isn't that much. You could try to min-max it just a little bit, but the difference between minimum and maximum are not super high right now. The Shadow Fiend does have to be a little bit careful, although he has gone for the stat build, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him grab an SNY down the line just to try to complement that, just go for the full-on tanky Shadow Fiend type of build-up. Yeah, right now he is still very susceptible to just being killed off, especially since Frigolite is having that level 6. They're going to get a Dragon Tail onto McGraw. He's sitting right under the Flesh Golem, so he's taking a lot of extra damage out. Here comes Frigolite. He's not even going to cast anything. What a good support player. It's going to be Eris Loco to grab the kill, and they did use the Dragon form for that, so it should be a lot of pressure on this top lane as well. I don't know if it's going to be enough pressure to take this tower cleanly and defend their mid-tier 1, but it looks like we might have a trade on our hands.
Glyph is available for the Radiant and the Dire. Radiant Glyph is going to be popped now, but it looks like E's Disciples are trading just a little bit more effectively. The poison tick damage from the Dragonite, although good, isn't that great at going for immediate trades when the tower already is down to less than half in mid. But now that Krilli's rotated off of bottom, they can pretty freely go for this, but yeah, the damage isn't going to be super significant. Now Maui's going to look to chase. Ice Shards are not going to spot anybody out, so a snowball isn't going to be coming. But now Teddy, looking for the wraparound. They spot him out, going up to the high ground with Sentry Ward right into the Light Strike right after the Dragon Tail. And this time around, Frigolite's not going to hold anything back. Dragon Slave will secure the kill, and a killing spree for himself too.
Love the Sentry Ward drop there. They saw the Bounty Hunter leave the mid lane, and then of course he's going to go to top lane because that's where a Bounty Hunter would be going. He wants to be in the action. He wants to get that level 6. You drop the Sentry Ward and you obliterate him. Well read there by the LemonDogs side. Usually the first team to teleport is going to be the team at a disadvantage, but hey, getting a free pick off certainly going to negate any sort of disadvantage they otherwise would have had. Eris Loco going to drop pretty low, does drop the Tombstone, and will be embraced for a little while longer. Tombstone, well, it's not going to be focused yet. They're going to snowball into that embrace. Bad move by Maui. He's going to get obliterated by the Laguna Blade. Here comes Top. He has a haste rune looking for someone. He'll raise once, can probably land one more raise, but I don't know, you're chasing really deep just for a Winter Wyvern here, Shadow Fiend. He is going to actually grab the kill, and looks like everyone else from LemonDogs just backed off, not looking for a fight. No Dragon Form for 10 seconds means no range stun, so Eternal Envy's Disciples, they do get 2 kills, and that's pretty good, I suppose. They need this tower, though, to make it really a victory, and or level 6 on Teddy, but I don't really know if that's going to be in the cards.
And they should be able to get that. I think it was probably the right move coming out from LemonDogs to back off. They threw a lot into that Tusk kill, including Laguna Blade, and really no way to subdue the Shadow Fiend. Well played by the SF too, just landing all of his skills helps quite a bit. But all while that's happening, Krilli's farming up, and it looks like Wraith King's going to be heading towards a Blink Dagger next.
So then when he TPs in, it's actually going to be a significant threat. He'll be able to jump in and Wraithfire Blast and then hit you. Instead of Wraithfire Blast, spend all his time walking in and then hit him like once. And it's going to be a pretty fast item at that. And between the Blink Dagger and Hedamitis, this Wraith King is looking to have a much more explosive mid-game. And if you get that going as the Wraith King, you're going to be feeling pretty good. Track now is up on Teddy and Krilli. He's trying to act as bait right now. Eternal Envy's Disciples, are they going to take it? Oh, they're going to move forward. Bad timing for that. It's going to be actually everyone converging onto McGraw, who's going to walk right into the Dragonite, get stunned immediately. However, he's going to get put into the Snowball, and PQMZ is there as well. They're going to curse up McGraw again. Maui's not going to do that much damage to his friendly Razor, but McGraw's still surviving. Still the Grave's available. Krilli's going to take a full-on Requiem to the face. Still, he has his reincarnation, though, and he will use that. Frigolite looking for Teddy right now as E-Skill is unable to chase him down. Now Krilli, back from the dead, is looking to run out of here. Actually, tracks are on everyone, but so far only one hero's died. Jump forward from Maui with a Snowball. Will take another track kill. Now they're trying to go onto top. But still the Dazzle's healing. They can't get any of these kills. Krilli gonna turn around for another Wraithfire Blast, but Top is just not dying. He's so tanky. Another track kill for the Tusk now as Teddy's gonna lay another track down on E-Skill. They have no shards, no Snowball. Looks like the Dragonite is gonna survive. But that was a 3-for-0 trade in favor of EED, all of which had track. That was a huge fight for the bounty.
Yeah, and massive for the rest of the team. Snowball in mid, they'll go for E-Skills. He's able to get the Dragon Tail off, which is going to buy him a little bit more time and potentially save his life. But that means so much for EE's Disciples. This Shadow Fiend is now completely balling out of control. Compare his net worth to the Midas Wraith King, and it's not even close. And since Wraith King has invested so heavily into items that won't directly help him fight, this Shadow Fiend's able to pick up, like, what, a full SNY and just a couple hundred gold. The rest of the team is going to pick up so much, and take a look at the net worth graph. It's actually obscene. That last fight is a downward spiral in favor of EE's Disciples, and it's not going to get any better for LemonDogs now that Tier 1 tower falls after the fact.
Side effect of having a really, really tanky Shadow Fiend and a Razor with mech. LemonDogs, they have tanky heroes. Like, Dragonite's pretty big. Wraith King has a double life, so he's at, like, 2,800 health pool total. That's not bad, nor is the Undying's health pool. The problem is that these heroes inherently don't do as much damage as a Shadow Fiend, don't do as much damage as a Razor, so these Disciples, just for right now, are better positioned. And LemonDogs, if they're not able to burst down the targets for the kills, then they just don't have the damage output to actually do it. It's up to Lina at this point to be most of their damage output, as awkward as that sounds. The rest of LemonDogs just need more time, more gold to really compare to this survivability build from E's Disciples. They're going to swoop down to the bottom lane, grab that tower without too much trouble. It'll be fortified for a little bit, but not denied, and LemonDogs trying to go for a mid lane push with the dragon form. That won't even work out. Now deniable. Looks like the tower might actually, yeah, be denied. LemonDogs lose a tower, gain pretty much nothing in exchange.
LemonDogs, in theory, have a situation where they can start balling up and looking for these tower pushes, but I don't think that's how the game's actually progressed. The Undying is 1-1-1, which for an Undying especially is a very middling KDA. You want to have a lot more. McGraw is a little bit isolated out in mid. It looks like they also know this. They've spotted out a rotation from the rest of the heroes with an Observer Ward. So if Razor sticks around here, McGraw could be in some trouble. But still, EE's Disciples are getting so much gold on so many of their heroes. Even the Dazzle is getting what he needs. Arcane Boots at this point is all that you really want. And they're going to go for Roshan. This has been spotted out. LemonDogs have a reasonable team to fight inside the Roshan pit. This could go very poorly either way. How's it going to break down?
Top, he's gonna get a lot of damage to Krilly before things start. Tombstone gets deployed, and no one's actually in range to kill it. Top's gonna wind up the Requiem, which will destroy Aristoko's HP pool, though. Solar will keep him healthy. They're trying to kill off this Tombstone with the Vision Sigil. They'll take it down. Sun at the top. Curse is there as well, but they put him right in the Snowball. He'll be just fine for a little while longer with the Drums of the Grave. He will get out of here. They take down 2 heroes. Now E-Skill trapped in the shards. Those weren't good shards from Maui, but instead they're gonna go for Krilly. Trying to TP out. That will not work. Still Maui unable to get the kill on the Dragon Knight, but EED, they lose absolutely no one. Despite having good positioning on the Tombstone, LemonDogs unable to actually get in there and fight. They, I wanted to say, need a Blink Dagger on the Wraith King if they're going to do that, but he's gone for an Armlet. No, he sold it. Never mind. He just, oh no, he does have it. So yeah, he's an Armlet. Yeah, LemonDogs can't start a fight, clearly.
It's very difficult, and even when they try to start a fight, there's always Maui there. With the defensive snowballs, Tuska's built his allies more than once, and he's played in general pretty well, and in that last fight, Winter's Curse should have been a kill for LemonDogs, but it just wasn't, because, I don't know, somehow Snowball can go right through that without being interrupted at all. And so, yeah, these Disciples are getting a lot of momentum. I don't knock the Armlet pickup on Wraith King. I think it's fine for what they need to be doing, which is bursting down kills as fast as possible. If he gets a crit with the Armlet, he is doing a reasonable amount of physical damage, but what they lack, as you said, is that initiation. Usually that would be the Dragon Knight to pick that up, but he just doesn't have the appropriate farm for it. Usually he'd want a Blink Dagger at this point.
I don't even know if even with the level 3 crit it's going to be enough to really scare off the likes of the Razor or the Shadow Fiend. They're going to catch Krilly in the shards. No one's going to act on that. And Blink Dagger is now picked up on the DK, so they will be able to start the fights on their own terms. But the really problematic thing is that we haven't even seen Dazzle really need to use his Shallow Grave. He used it once in the last fight, but that was kind of unnecessary. So once Grave is actually going to be used out of necessity, then things are going to get really bad for LemonDogs. So they're going to spend the majority of their damage output to just bring someone low and force out that Dazzle's defensive tool. I'm pretty sure Dazzle's going to be a-okay with that. With the Aegis Intel on the Shadow Fiend, E's Disciples going to ball up with everyone minus Razor and just slow siege this tier 2 tower. They know that Krilly is... They have a pretty good read, actually, right now, since Krilly's going to reveal everyone, and Krilly's leaving. So tower for free, and Blink Dagger on the DK revealed to the E's Disciple side. It's a free tier 2 tower at least. They can probably swing to the mid lane and top lane and take them all down.
Yeah, this is a very difficult fight for LemonDogs to take. Even if, in theory, they find a good initiation angle, really what they want to be doing is getting pickoffs. Blinking with the DK, get the stun, follow up with Lina from Fog, pretty much, and just isolate somebody that's out solo. As long as these Disciples stick together as pretty much a 5-man unit, it's very, very hard for LemonDogs to actually engage into this, since Undying's Tombstone, especially, isn't going to be that big of a factor because of the range damage coming out from EE's Disciples. Shadow Fiend, pretty much 2 shots at a little bit more than that, but you get the picture. It's not going to be lasting long.
Oh man, this Shadow Fiend is just so big right now. Like, if you look at his inventory and if you have that on a 20-minute Shadow Fiend, you're happy. This game, he has another 3,000 gold in the bank. Somehow. He's been finding money out of nowhere. Of course, 403, 162 CS doesn't exactly hurt, but man, this guy is absolutely loaded. You can honestly, as Shadow Fiend, go for any item right now. BKB probably is the most reasonable, but also that's the most boring. Going for a damage item? Maybe, because you have so many defensive tools behind you. You already have a pretty tanky build, so you can afford to grab something that hurts a little bit harder.
Yeah, maybe something like a butterfly would be really nice this game because I don't think he's going to die to the initial burst coming out from LemonDogs. As long as the Dazzle is alive and behind him, they'll be able to heal him back up with the mech from Razor, with some extra heals thrown in from the Dazzle, and as long as the defensive play is on point, I think he can play a little bit greedier this game. Of course, you can't knock the BKB purchase, of course, it's always the reliable choice, but really, the world is Shadow Fiend's oyster, and even if he doesn't buy any items, as you said 20 minutes in, he's happy with his current inventory.
Man, this is looking pretty bad for LemonDogs. Even though they are only 1 kill behind, they just don't have any momentum, and they don't really have the heroes necessary. They're working with the Hanamitis Wraith King, and he's had that for, what, like 13 minutes now, so it is getting some pretty serious value being level 11, and there is always a chance of them being able to take this in the late game, which is a really tanky, really unkillable Wraith King and Dragon Knight combo, but that's a really, really long ways out, and E's Disciples looking like they're farming a little bit faster than the LemonDog side, especially once Aghanim Scepter comes up on Razor, which is only, 1100 gold away. Then the tower is going to start dropping even faster, then high ground becomes an option for ED.
Yeah, LemonDogs need to find a way to slow this down, whether that's by taking a couple of tier 1 towers in your favor, but even if they do take down those tier 1s, they need to make sure they don't lose anything for it. And their heroes aren't particularly that great at defending these towers. Splinter Blast and Lena's Kid is decent for wave clear, but every time they approach, there's always the risk that somebody jumps them, but right now E's Disciples don't even need to do that, just take down the structure straight up and then look for the jump afterwards. Curly is kind of safe right now because he does have his ultimate, it is level 2, so even if he dies it won't be on the longest of cooldowns, but up towards top. TP up by the Dragon Knight will be successful, and now E's Disciples are going to rinse and repeat, or at least I'd expect them to, just go down through top. The Aegis the Immortal is still going to be there for a little under 2 minutes.
Tower denied as well, so yeah, E's Disciple just walk bottom lane, take a tower, walk mid lane, take a tower, and LemonDogs clearly don't want to fight, otherwise the Dragon Knight would have been there. This next coming tower push is going to be one where the Dragon Knight actually doesn't have his ultimate. So just by that timing alone, you would think that, again, LemonDogs will be really unwilling to make that defense, maybe even unable to make that defense, like, you total up all their strengths and it just won't be enough. So it should be a third tier 2 tower for the E's Disciples side. They are in a group of only 3, however, so maybe this is the opening for LemonDogs and they are going to converge. I have Scotty up on the Shadow Fiend. My god, he's loaded and really tanky, 2300 HP. The smoke is coming in, but the DK, the Blink Dagger hero, it's not there. They're going to smoke up on Teddy and Curse onto top right now. Snowball is going to fly through, which is going to dodge a Dragon Slave. They're running to Step Style right now, winding up the Requiem. He's going to get stunned out of it for the first time. Dragon Tail is there, and he will be critted down. That's Aegis down the tubes for the Shadow Fiend. No other heroes are coming in for the E's Disciple side. They're going to land at the LSA top in a lot of trouble right now. Despite how tanky he is, he can't handle this many heroes with the Requiem. He's going to try to fight it out versus Frigolith. He'll get stunned up and dropped in the meantime, though. It's going to be a 2 kill after all is said and done. Bounty Hunter also caught in the crossfire. Yeah, E's Disciples having only 3 heroes up on that top lane. 5v3, don't care how far ahead you are, those are bad odds.
They lose the Winter Wyvern for that Shadow Fiend, but a price that LemonDogs will be more than happy to pay. It took a while to kill off the Shadow Fiend, but he really does kind of rely on having somebody else to do damage while he's being CC'd. He took forever to kill, but if there's not a Razor there stealing DPS from the Dragon Knight or from the Wraith King and dishing it out equally as fast, then it really doesn't matter how long it takes to kill the Shadow Fiend because he can't do anything. He's just constantly stunned. So, yeah, a little bit of a slip coming out from E's Disciples, and this is going to buy a lot of time for LemonDogs to get that next round of items online. But still, E's Disciples are sitting on a comfortable advantage, about 7,500 net worth and 5,000 experience. But if that happens once or twice more, LemonDogs could be right back into it.
The trade-off for giving away that Shadow Fiend and Bounty Hunter is that they get the Razor's Aghanim Scepter, which may be relevant in the coming future, and well, they're going to jump onto Eris Loco, at least Teddy will, pretty much by himself. Still has a Shuriken, that won't kill off the Undying just yet, Teddy is still on the chase right now. Not actually doing a ton of damage, but I think he should be able to get this kill before backup comes LemonDog Shuriken. That'll be the kill. Teddy grabs a solo kill on the enemy Undying. He tried it a lot earlier and it didn't work, but now, yeah, Undying in a bad position, so far away from his teammates, is a free kill for E's Disciples, and with Aghanim Scepter and Toe on the Razor, now this tier 2 tower is definitely going to fall, and once again, it shouldn't be defended. E-Skill, though he does have his Dragon form, doesn't have TP available. That's on cooldown for 30.
Even though Teddy's only really been involved in 3 of these kills when it comes to dealing damage, I believe there have been more track kills than that. And, oh, mid lane, they're going to look for a snowball, and Dragon Knight. Blink away from the DK will mean that he is safe. But a tier 2 tower is going to fall in favor of EED, and the damage on the tier 2 mid dealt by the Dragon Knight is hardly significant. So Eternal Envy's disciples are going to be pretty happy, and as long as they can secure themselves this next Roshan, the prospect for going high ground is definitely there. But if they stall out, LemonDogs, should they take these last 4 remaining outer 2 towers on the EED side, this game will be looking a lot more even. But will the Wraith King really be able to hold up? I feel like he's just going to be kited incessantly between Sanj slow, between Scotty slow from the Shadow Fiend, and then just Razor running circles around him.
He has his Blink Dagger now, so it's a little bit easier for him to get into those fights. But yeah, like going for like a Shadow Fiend, what you want to be doing as Wraith King, so difficult when the Shadow Fiend is either going to get Glimmered, put into a Snowball, or Graved. And that is, of course, assuming you can actually hit him down low where those skills are actually going to be needed. That's far, far, far from a given at this point. Wraith King needs another 2 big items at least until he's going to be a true threat. He's going to get a free pick off here on Teddy, walked right into a sentry. That's a pretty good start. Yeah. Oh, no. Well, okay, there it is. They have to use Dust, which kind of sucks, but hey, they get the kill anyway. Bounty Hunter down. They need more of those types of kills. They need 20 minutes of no pressure, I think. Then it's going to be at least a chance for LemonDogs to handle the EED side in a full-scale late-game battle.
Oh, that said, the individual Bounty Hunter pickoff is still about 1,000 experience in Gold Swing, which is quite significant. And as far as LemonDogs scaling into the late game, Dragon Knight, as long as he's able to keep up pace with the enemy carries, still holds his own quite nicely. Right now he is like 5k gold behind the Shadow Fiend, but at a certain point Shadow Fiend caps out, and if this goes super late, maybe LemonDogs can make a resurgence if Lina starts scaling. But Lina right now, even though she has a good KD, isn't really getting much farm.
Lots of people underestimate how great a late game hero Dragon Knight actually is. He's damn unkillable when he has so much armor, and everyone already knows that, but late game it gets even more relevant since it's pretty much like having another plate mail in your inventory. A lot more effective there, when the rest of your skills tend to fall off, just in general. And with the splash damage and slow, I mean, you get some serious value out of that, especially if you do have a Daedalus. So, yeah, the Dragon Knight, the Wraith King's late game is certainly pretty potent, but I'm not really sure if it's going to be potent enough. They're actually going to look for Steph Style, who's going to narrowly dodge that weave. But it's going to be Ease Disciples camping Roshan Pit, and LemonDogs, last time they tried, it really didn't go well for them. Will they try again? It kind of feels like they have to.
Right now, these disciples are going to play things cool. They don't know when Roshan is going to be respawning, although it is going to be a reasonably fast Roshan respawn. It's not the fastest, but also not the slowest either. Had they spotted it there, they would have been able to take it in just a matter of seconds. With Soul Crest in the minus armor and damage from the Shadow Fiend. But yeah, I think this is really just a situation where both of these teams are vying for control around the pit. If we take a look at the ward coverage, right now LemonDogs have 3 wards, or 4 wards actually, give them great coverage around the middle of the map, but probably most importantly is the one on the high ground, and similar for the Dire side, pretty much mirrored on the other side of the pit.
Well, the Tusk just shoved up the top lane, and mid lane is looking like it's pushing towards the Radiant base. So the overall lane status is going to be favoring the Dire just slightly. So most likely it's going to be them to go into the pit first, especially seeing E-Skill teleport all the way back to base. That's a huge go sign for Ease Disciples to go straight into the Roche pit. They know that it's up and they are going to go straight for it. Dragon Knight, he has to clear this out, maybe shove it once more and then get to this Roshan pit really quickly. I don't really know if he has quite enough time though. This is a Solar Crest on this Roshan plus a lot of minus armor and a lot of slow effects. So ED pretty much taking no damage from this. It's already down to half HP. The Dragon Knight has arrived right now. Sigil in front right now. They're going to throw the Wraithfire Blast towards top. No, it's actually towards McGraw. He's not taking that much damage from him. Krill's actually getting his HP pool destroyed, especially by the minus armor. McGraw's going to get slowed down a little bit, but still he's surviving. With mech already used, they can't really get the Requiem off, but Top's not taking any damage either way. He's now going to pop the Requiem, which will annihilate the Wraith King, at least his first life, and also destroy the support's health pool. The zombies are going to stack up, though. Top is going to get bailed out by the Grave for a little while longer. You're going to try to go for E-Skill, not doing enough damage, though, against this Dragon Knight's armor. Top is in a little bit of trouble. Dragon Slave misses. He will get back to the high ground. He'll be just fine. It's PQMZ stuck in the Roche pit who's going to fall. This time the Tombstone survives for the whole duration, and Eternal Envy's disciples actually end up losing that fight, and probably the Roshan as well.
That Tombstone was so crucial. They were able to focus down in the original engagement, but this time they just didn't have the appropriate vision for it. Lucky enough for E's Disciples, Glimmer Cape on the Tusk is able to bail out the Shadow Fiend. If they lose the SF there, it's an absolute disaster. But ideally what happens in that fight is they're able to swing around towards that hill and drop an Ice Shards there and be able to focus it, but the Tombstone was already down quick enough, and despite being able to get off the Requiem, I felt like that Requiem was probably more harmful for E's Disciples than anything, as they blowed on just the Wraith King's reincarnation. Now we have an Aegis on this Wraith King too, so theoretically, in 90 seconds or so, he's going to have 3 lives, and he's doing quite a lot of damage inside them. Maelstrom as well as Armlet are probably some of the most cost-efficient damage items you can buy in Dota.
And if you turn those into, or turn one of those into an eventual Mjolnir, maybe grab an Assault, never mind, Assault Cuirass is going to be built up on E-Skill. Oh, actually completed on E-Skill, so get even more damage on this Wraith King and DK. They'll be able to actually continue onwards with these fights pretty decently, as long as they keep controlling the likes of the Razor and the Shadow Fiend. There are a lot of stuns going towards those heroes with no follow-up, which is usually not what you want to be doing, but sometimes firing and forgetting on those heroes, taking them out of the fights, focusing on someone else is what you need to be doing, and that's what LemonDogs did, and it worked out pretty darn well for them. So yeah, not to say that they're totally right back into it, still a little bit behind. Still, I don't think their heroes on paper stack up as well against the EED's heroes. If they keep taking clustered up fights, EED, if they are unable to focus down that Tombstone, then they will eventually keep losing those fights and eventually the game, but that's not going to happen every single time. Eventually they will be able to kill off the Tombstone, and the fights are going to be a lot more even.
Yeah. If we take a look at the net worth graphs, things have really swung back in favor for LemonDogs. After that initial swing down coming out from E's Disciples, it really kind of felt like that snowball could have kept on rolling, but LemonDogs have stalled out that advantage, and it's really just been floating between 5,000 and 7,000 for quite some time now, and experience is almost completely zeroed out. And at this point, I think we can effectively call that 0.
AC gonna go to work on this top lane tier 2. But of course, Quilly's outrageous damage with the armlet. Not outrageous, but still pretty high damage with the armlet, level 16, helping as well. They're gonna clean that one up and look to continue, actually. I mean, I guess they do still have the Aegis. This is pretty ambitious from the LemonDogs side. They'll have no buyback reinforcement, whereas EED will. Weave onto 2 right now, but they're just going to go to work. The Dragon Form is bringing this tower down pretty darn quickly. Here comes Top, looking to go for a Krilly, but his tanky build, it's working to keep him alive. Now he is not actually doing a ton of damage, at least not if he was going to go straight for Butterfly. He will eventually get that with the Talisman Evasion in his inventory, but not quite there yet.
This is going to be slow and steady, but even if LemonDogs don't get this tower, they'll probably drop it to about half HP, even if no fight breaks out, which is reasonable for them. East Disciples are in a bit of a precarious situation. Blink up to the high ground, they're going to go for the Tusk. Maui's getting destroyed, but with the Glimmer Cape, he's going to buy himself some extra space. Dust as well as Winter's Curse from low ground will land. Maui is going to be shallow graved up, delaying this death, but it looks like it's only going to do that. Another delaying tool in the Snowball. He brings the Shadow Fiend into it, going to pull him over towards the creep wave. Maui will die to those same creeps. Krilly's sitting on the high ground. He has the Aegis and a level 16 ultimate. Will Armlet toggle through the tower shots, and Krilly at this point can pretty much just suicide to proc his ultimate, or why not just get sustained by the Winter Wyvern and all that's behind you. But now they have to deal with their other lanes. Bottom and mid are pushing in, so they're not going to keep on going for more, but it's still a win for LemonDogs.
Yeah, they walk in, blindly blink up the high ground, which is incredibly risky, and fight through so much. They fight through the Snowball, they fight through the Grave Room Dazzle, and of course they had had 2 heroes woven up on LemonDogs, so making that play super risky just to start things out. But they walk away with half of the tier 3 tower, a little more than half actually, and kill the Tusk for free. Again, it's not really the biggest play in the world, especially with this Aegis still in tow, but it's a free kill for them. If you say no to free kills, then something's definitely wrong with you. 13 to 10, and still with the armlet in tow. Krilly's really starting to get up there in his farm right now. It still has a lot of room to grow as well. Armlet is just an intermediate item. You do eventually replace that, and you do eventually replace the Hand of Midas, Power Treads, and it travels. Aegis is going to be filled up with something else eventually. If LemonDogs are fighting this effectively with this little, then I can't imagine what they're going to be doing when they're 5-6 slotted.
Yeah, it'll be very scary. Maybe next time for the Wraith King MKB, but yeah, it's because you have this Solar Crest as well as the Shadow Fiend's fresh pickup Butterfly, but regardless, he's going to be hitting pretty darn hard, and it's already difficult to dislodge him. If they get another Aegis on this Shadow Fiend, I don't think this one's going to transition into much of anything. Probably will just time out on Krilly. I don't see him dying twice in the next, like, what is it, 15 seconds or so before that Aegis expires, but they're going to try to go for a tier 2 tower push. Even without the Aegis, just natural tankiness, and passive coming in from the Wraith King is pretty significant. Tier 2 is going to be chunked down. These Dragonite illusions are definitely going to help in that respect. But these Disciples are here on force. This could be a very nasty fight if LemonDogs aren't prepared for the Aegis to expire, and it looks like they just want a full retreat.
Yeah, I think that's the right decision right now. You know that the majority of your team tracked and woven. Not a good combination if you're the LemonDogs, and Steph style, he'll be the last one out. He will get out of there safe and sound. It's, again, LemonDogs not really gaining a ton, but they walk in, take a lot of tower damage, take a tier 1, then walk out without any casualties. So that's perfectly fine for them to be making these types of plays. Again, LemonDogs do favor this slow and steady style. It seems like they're now starting to get into their groove, and EE's Disciples have yet to really upset this groove once it has formed. They're going to find Krilly, but not getting in there fast enough. Krilly is going to back off after just using his hand to Midas, so, you know, Wraith King none the wiser. EE's Disciples, what do they actually have to do now? They have the Butterfly. They now have the damage item on the Razor as well with that Assault Cuirass. Combined with that Butterfly means that high ground is definitely there. The Aegis has been reclaimed. Is it just wait for the next Aegis? It seems like that'll give either side the biggest possible edge.
Yeah, next Aegis or maybe even BKB on the Shadow Fiend or the Razor will help a lot when going for that high ground push. I think delaying it is still a reasonable choice that they made, but with the state of the game currently, I think EE's Disciples... Ooh, yeah. That is a big Ancient stack, and it looks like they'll be able to successfully steal this unless LemonDogs make a move now. But with the Undying Tract and with the ward coverage coming out from EE's Disciples, they see pretty much everything. If we take a look, so many aggressive wards have been placed out, so they'll get away with murder, and murder of a 4-stack of Ancients is nothing to scoff at.
That's a hell of a lot of gold. It's certainly a lot better to lose a giant stack later on in the game than super early on when that represents like your completed BKB or Blink Dagger or something like that. But hey, that's a lot of gold out of the pockets of LemonDogs into the pockets of EE's Disciples, and I don't really think it's going to translate into any items for them necessarily, but hey, it's assets out of the enemy pockets. And again, if you're complaining about that, there's something really, really terribly wrong with you. It seems like both sides are not interested in looking for a fight right now, and I think that is perfectly reasonable. Neither side really should be itching for pickoffs either. I mean, I guess LemonDogs, the Blink Dagger Wraith King, can in theory look for it, especially on the roaming Bounty Hunter, but they're going to need a gem for that, and it seems like they're not quite ready to make that investment yet, although I do think it's about that time.
Well, speaking of gems, there's one on E-Skill. It's purchased by the Lina. LemonDogs can very easily deward with this. There's a Blink Dagger on the Dragonite, so for the most part he can do it by himself, but with that gem, it's going to make it very difficult for EE's Disciples to rotate around the map, and all of those aggressive wards that they once had are going to very quickly be removed. So our map control is starting to dwindle around them. LemonDogs will put some pressure on the tier 2, but we'll just straight back. Tier 2 down towards bottom is not worth risking a full-on engagement. Might as well just get some extra bit of farm, and they're doing just that. 4,000 gold in Krilly's inventory. What do you think Wraith King's next item is?
Well, he doesn't have to go for an Assault Cuirass because it's already up. He already has the Hyperstone there as well. MKB to deal with the Solar Crest and Butterfly seems like the most reasonable, although I wouldn't really put it past him. Just ignore that and go for... Well, he's going to go for an MKB, but also just going straight Abyssal Blade, just trying to one-for-one yourself with a Shadow Fiend or something like that is worth it at this point still for LemonDogs, and might actually be his next item after this. Maybe ship out the Armlet, maybe after Travel, something like that, but it is going to be an MKB for the Wraith Teams. Also, 5,000 gold on the Dragonite. He might be going for the same exact build.
Yeah, or maybe just pick up straight damage for the DK with a Daedalus, but yeah, MKB feels like the most reasonable for both of them. They're so tanky against what EE's Disciples are bringing to the table with the mass amount of armor on the Dragonite especially, and the auras really do help out the Wraith King too. Vlad's mech and AC all online is very easy to forget about inside these fights, but it does help quite a lot.
Got a smoke up now from LemonDogs. They don't have the gem walking with them, which is a little bit awkward, but they have their target spotted on the top lane. It's Razor. He's feeling pretty comfortable, just casually farming. He's TP like 3 minutes ago or 30 seconds ago, but nope, it's too late. He's going to call it the burn, and the Fire Blast, and the LSA, and the Laguna Blade, and everything else as well. That's McGraw down for not... I mean, he has a buyback, so it's not too bad, but still, this is the opportunity for LemonDogs to actually go for some sort of play, especially if they can catch Teddy right now. Blink forward, Dragon Tail. That's not going to miss. He's right next to the Dragonite, and he's going to get demolished. Although, into the Invis he goes, E-Skill rather, with the gem is going to catch up to him and kill him off. Now 2 kills. That's an opening for LemonDogs to even go high ground.
The MKB is not finished on the Wraith King, despite him having the gold for it. Maybe I want to save for buyback, but Yeah, it feels like LemonDogs are going to swing up towards top. The Shadowfiend would have been able to clear out the creep wave in mid, but now there is an opening where LemonDogs can very easily take down this tier 3 since it was already so weak. Wraithfire Blast is going to land onto TOP, buyback on the Razor. They can't get here fast enough to stop this melee barracks from going down. Crilly is opening up into it. They have a glyph to delay, but TOP is just being controlled. On the front lines, Glimmer Cape or not, they might lose a couple of heroes here. Crilly's going to get a static link onto him. 84 damage stolen into the Razor, but with the Cold Embrace, he's still going to survive a little while longer. Witch's Curse to cancel out the channeling of that Requiem, and it looks like they should be able to turn this one around. Shallow Grave, he eventually does get the Requiem off. A lot of damage in the heroes. The Dragon Knight and Lina the first to fall. Wraith King still hasn't lost his ultimate yet. And now the Shadow Fiend's dead, and the Razor too. Crilly's going to blink back, just making sure he doesn't die here. Buyback from the Shadow Fiend. They really want to save this Rax, but they're not going to be able to. That's going to be melee barracks going down in favor of LemonDogs. One race is going to connect over 3 heroes. Pretty slick there. Crilly might die, but does it even matter? And with the heals, he's living for a little while longer than he probably should, but eventually will go down. Arctic Burn up to the high ground will fly right over this Ice Shard. Steph Styles looking for the TP out, will be able to make it. They have vision coming out from the sigil very soon, but not soon enough. All things considered, a big win for LemonDogs, even though it's not reflected in that last fight recap when it comes to the gold, since they did spend the buybacks. They get the barracks, and that's what counts after all is said and done.
And the buyback that they did spend was mirrored by the buyback in the Shadow Fiend, so you could pretty much cross that one out on both lists and say that was even. Killing off the Shadow Fiend and the Razor, man, that's a big deal. And I thought that the Shadow Fiend was going to get the Requiem off. Once you do get the Requiem off, especially being so close to the Dragon Knight, especially, well, Winter Wyvern, I think already used the Force Staff, so Dragon Knight was pretty much stuck there from the shards. That represents the end of that fight. If you get the Requiem off, you pretty much win, and it took forever for him to actually cast that. That's what happens when you have no BKB. You keep on getting Dragon Tailed, then Wraithfire Blasted, then Winter's Curse. It just never ends for top, and he's still not going to grab that item just yet, so it will continuously be a problem. They're going to slide into the Roche Pit, try to steal this one before LemonDogs can actually arrive. It looks like that will be a success. This is an Aegis and Cheese Roshan. Probably going towards the Shadow Fiend. Cheese held in the Tusk or something like that for later. The Bounty Hunter for later. It is worth noting that the gem was given over once the DK died the first time, so now Bounty Hunter working with that True Sight. But Eternal Envy Disciples lose their first lane of Raxes. Not game over yet. They don't have the best heroes to handle that, but it's still just one lane of Raxes. 40 minutes in, they will be fine. But LemonDogs, I don't know if they're actually going to be willing to make another push after seeing the Aegis and Cheese on EED.
Yeah, I think right now LemonDogs are going to slow down, step back a little bit, and just wait until this Aegis is down, and then they can make their next move. Maybe even wait for the next Roshan in its entirety. You have a full MKB up for this Shadow Fiend. He's pretty much capped out. Aegis can be replaced with another item, but at this point, for all intents and purposes, Shadow Fiend has reached all of his major increases in power, no matter what that last slot is. And it kind of feels like LemonDogs are a team that has more room to grow. Razor has gone for this AC Mech Aghanims build, and it hasn't had that much impact, at least from what I've seen. Usually you'd want to be breaking high ground about when LemonDogs were with these items.
Yeah, otherwise, the Aghanim Scepter and Mech, they get a little bit worse. Still, they do exactly what you want them to do, but if you're not pushing aggressively as Razor, by this time, then you're usually in a bad position, or at least not in a position where you want to be. Still, the gold is coming in for the Wraith King and Dragon Knight. This Dragon Knight especially has been doing a really good job keeping up with the farm. That's usually why people discount the Dragon Knight late game. It's simply because he can't farm as fast as other heroes unless he has always stacks to work with. But if you're somehow able to get this farm, we can already see how E-Skill is really hard to move in these fights and doing a little bit of damage as well. With another 3,900 gold in the bank, after having purchased Boots of Travels, again, it should be an MKB or Daedalus for him, one of those Demon Edge items, but either way, it's going to hurt EED really badly if they can't deal with this Dragon Knight properly, and they don't really have any just huge fire and forget skills like this Dragon Tail, like the Wraithfire Blast, and Razor's really struggling to actually get a link off on this DK. In fact, I don't even know who he's linking.
He's been trying to get the link onto the Wraith King, but the damage at this point that he's actually able to steal is pretty negligible. I mean, it's really nice to have that extra 80 damage or so on your Razor, but Wraith King still is hitting pretty hard when you factor in the crit, especially. Mortal Strike, not the best of critical hits, but 750 is nothing to shake a stick at. Now he has Boots of Travel up and running for this Wraith King. Yeah, LemonDogs, it feels like they're the most comfortable team, but this game could still go either way. At the moment, the advantage for LemonDogs is 2,500 in net worth, and experience is even in the favor of EE's Disciples. So really, this game could flip either way. It just depends on the next couple minutes and whether this Aegis means anything for EED. They're going to look for Ice Shard. It's not going to wall off to Lina, and she'll be force staffed for good measure. Everybody spotted out by that track, but no way to catch.
Lena, by the way, is also a hero that can get into that more heavy late game stage. Not in the right click department necessarily, but just getting Aghanims. If she does somehow grab that, level 16 is not too far away, all things considered. Still being level 13, 43 minutes in the game, feels kind of bad, but she's on par with the Dazzle and the Bounty Hunter. Get the Aghanim Scepter, you delete half of the health pool of either the Razor and the Shadow Fiend. And from a support, that's a big deal, man. It's very easy to get off, too. You just mash the button, and 9 times out of 10, you'll get it off.
These disciples are going to look for a high ground push, and they definitely have the potential to siege this one out. It's a risky prospect, but probably one that they need to take. Aegis the Immortal is still in their inventories for about a minute 30, so now is the time. They're going to pop the Razor Ultimate. We'll start working onto that tier 3, but Arctic Burn is going to put a decent chunk into their HP pools. Now Corelli's here on the front lines. MKB, and Corelli's not going to be on the front lines for long. A lot of damage from the Shadow Fiend, but still, with the ultimate up and running, Wraith King is still in a situation where he could fight, although for now, they do know that he's back in the base. Dragon Tail is going to be thrown onto top. They don't have the follow-up, however. The tier 3 tower is going to fall. Blink out by the Dragonite, but now he's man-fighting against the Shadow Fiend. Not necessarily one he wants to take. Light Strike Array is going to fly through Laguna Blade onto the SF. He still has the Aegis Immortal, mind you, and is up with the Shallow Grave for another 6 seconds on the sidelines. Skrillex is going to kill off the Tusk, so it is currently a 4v5. Looking for the follow-up. Light Strike Array is going to be on the money. Top has no help, because this time around he has no Tusk, and Dazzle is not able to get that Shallow Grave up. He'll look for the Grave TP himself. Wraithfire Blast coming up to cooldown 1 second, but it doesn't even matter. GG is called, as Shadow Fiend has no buyback.
Man, what a curse there from Steph Style. Locked up 3 heroes, and also the Wraith King was there, hitting the entire time. He destroyed the Tusk before they really had a chance to do much of anything. I was gonna say, like, the lack of armor on the Wraith King. We saw he just got hit 2 or 3 times by the Shadow Fiend, got his entire health pool depleted, didn't die, but man, that was a great curse from the Winter Wyvern there, and it's EED to awkwardly put the Shadow Fiend on the front lines. Again, that was, I feel like, an unnecessary all or nothing push. It's, again, what their draft really wants to be doing, except not 45 minutes in the game, so they go for a Hail Mary, and it just doesn't work out for them. The Wraith King was able to get in there with the Mjolnir's static charge and just tear everyone up, and of course the DK with the AC is damn near unkillable. It's a long game, but LemonDogs are going to claim it. That's what they were looking for to begin with. Guys, I'm Mikelorus. I've been joined by GrandisV, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for the second game between LemonDogs and the Disciples of Eternal Envy in just a little bit, guys.